The US and China are involved in a trade war. This is very serious and will have massive consequences on the economy of China and the economy of America. But China has an ace up its sleeve. And I was there recently, only a matter of days ago, and I can see what they're doing. Honestly, if you're based in the United States, you need to go to China. You need to see what they're actually doing and how they are preparing to really take over a lot of America's GDP when it comes to manufacturing. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Now, guys, I wouldn't say that I'm personally a huge proponent of China. I mean, there's some things I like about it. There's some things I don't like, just like any other country. But that said, some people say that I'm on the payroll of the Chinese government, which is kind of hilarious. I'd love to know how I actually can get on that payroll. Not really. China's secret weapon in the trade war is an army of factory robots powered by artificial intelligence that have revolutionized manufacturing. Factories are being automated across China at an incredible pace. And you know what? Some factories don't even have the lights on because there's no human beings working in them. It's just robots. With engineers and electricians tending to fleets of robots, these operations are bringing down the cost of manufacturing enormously. But at the same time, they're actually improving quality. When humans aren't involved, things actually can get done a little better. As a result, the price of many Chinese exports, the driver of the country's economy, is remaining extremely competitive, even as Donald Trump has erected a high wall of tariffs. China is also facing new trade barriers by the European Union and developing countries ranging from Brazil, India, Turkey, and Thailand. Factories are now more automated in China than in the United States, Germany, or Japan, and in some cases, much more automated. China has more factory robots for every 10,000 manufacturing workers than any other country except South Korea or Singapore, which obviously have relatively low population numbers. Now, these numbers we know from the International Federation of Robotics, who have confirmed that China is leading the world when it comes to robotics and artificial intelligence. China's automation drive has been guided by government directives, which are clearly saying to companies, if you invest in robots, we will help you, and backed with huge investment. As robots are replacing workers, automation positions China to continue to dominate mass production, even as its labor force ages and becomes less willing to take industrial jobs. China is modernizing at an incredible pace. And in many ways, China is ahead of the West. So a lot of the people that work in China now are like, well, I don't necessarily need to take a crappy factory job. It's changing there quickly. But as that's happening, Chinese companies are able to now start deploying robots. He Liang, founder and CEO of Yunmu Intelligent Manufacturing, one of China's top producers of humanoid robots, said China was striving next to turn robotics into an entire new sector of business. Basically, essentially trying to take over the global labor market in a way. The expectation for humanoid robots is to create another electric car industry, he said. So from this perspective, it is a national strategy. Robots are replacing workers not just in car factories, but even in China's many thousands of back alley workshops. Elon Lee's curbside workshop in Guangzhou, the commercial hub of southeastern China, has 11 workers who cut and weld metal to make inexpensive ovens and barbecue equipment. But now the owner is preparing to pay US $40,000 to a Chinese company for a robotic arm with a camera to do the job of their staff, essentially. The device uses artificial intelligence to observe how a worker actually welds the sides of an oven. And then it watches what they do and duplicates the exact action with almost no human intervention. Only 4 years ago, the same system was available only from foreign robot companies and cost nearly US $140,000, but that has completely changed now. Before, I never could have imagined investing in automation, said Lee, adding that a human employee can only work for 8 hours a day, but a machine can work 24 hours. Now, I just want to confirm that Not many people in China actually work for 8 hours a day. Most of them work longer than that. Bigger companies bet far more, though, on automation, and they're investing massive, massive sums. In Ningbo, a huge factory for Zeekr, a Chinese electric car maker, there is 5 robots when they opened 4 years ago. 5. There are now 820 and many more are planned. And I can confirm that they exist because I've actually been to that exact factory in Ningbo. By the way, most of that city appears to be a ghost city. One end of the city is not a ghost city because that's where all the workers are for this factory. Cheerfully trilling Kenny G tunes to warn any people of their approach, robot carts haul aluminium ingots to an automated elevator which lifts the blocks of metal to a furnace at the top of a 40-foot tall Chinese-made machine. Once molten, the aluminium is cast into the shapes of various car body panels and other components. More robot carts and the occasional human driving a forklift take the components to a warehouse. Now, these robot carts actually usually will avoid humans, but sometimes they won't. And I found this out the hard way. One of them actually got me. So I was okay, but it's interesting how they work. I'm sure they're improving, and they're probably even better than when I was there only about 6 months ago. More robots take the panels, though, to the assembly line, where hundreds of robotic arms working in teams of up to 16 do a complex dance to weld them together into car bodies. The welding area is a dark factory. There's no lights. The robots can operate without workers, with the lights off. They don't need any of this, which means they can essentially save electricity. China's factories still employ millions of workers. Even with the automation, they are needed to check quality and install some parts that require manual dexterity, like wiring harnesses. There are things cameras and computers cannot yet do on their own. Before cars are painted, workers still run gloved hands over them and sand smooth any tiny imperfections. Yet some of the later steps of quality control are also being automated with the help of artificial intelligence. And as this artificial intelligence gets better, eventually, no human workers will be needed in most of these factories in China. Near the end of Zeekr's assembly line, a dozen high-resolution cameras take photos of each car. Computers compare the images to an extensive database of correctly assembled cars and alert factory staff if a discrepancy is actually found. The task takes seconds to complete. Most of our colleagues' jobs involve sitting in front of a computer monitor, said Pinky Wu, a Zeekr worker. And I noticed that actually. I noticed that at the factory that, most of the staff were actually looking at computer screens. Zeekr and other Chinese automakers are also using artificial intelligence to design cars and even design their features more efficiently. And this is helping them to speed up production cycles. Traditionally, production cycles for legacy automakers in the West were between 5 to 8 years. Now in China, they're bringing out new versions every single year. Kerry Lee, a designer who works at Zeekr's new office building in Shanghai, uses artificial intelligence to analyze how different interior surface will actually intersect in a car. I have more spare time to open my mind and explore for myself which kinds of fashion trends to include in the car's interior, she said. And as you can see from Zeekr's cars, they look incredible. And many experts say that's why people in China are moving away from legacy automakers' premium cars, whether that's Mercedes-Benz or Porsche, and buying Chinese branded electric cars instead. Car factories in the United States also use automation, but much of the equipment actually does come from China. Most of the world's car assembly plants built in the past 20 years were built in China, and an automation industry has grown up around them. Chinese companies also bought overseas suppliers of advanced robotics like KUKA of Germany, and Tesla obviously bought Groman Engineering. They then moved their operations to China. Volkswagen opened an electric car factory a year ago in Hefei. It had only one single robot from Germany and 1,074 robots that were made in Shanghai, in China. China's rapid advance into robotics and advanced robotics has been propelled from the top down. Beijing's Made in China 2025 initiative, which began a decade ago, set out 10 industries in which China sought to be globally competitive. Robotics was one of them, and probably the most important. To force the car industry to think about how to use humanoid robots with 2 arms and 2 legs, for example, government officials in Beijing told major automakers last year to rent robots and submit videos of them performing tasks in their assembly plants. The videos required many takes to actually get them right. The robots did only basic tasks like sorting auto parts in a warehouse, but the initiative helped push car makers along into actually learning how they could use these robots in their factories. In a show of the automation push, the Beijing municipal government held a half marathon on Saturday for 12,000 runners and 20 humanoid robots. Only 6 robots finished the race, and the fastest of them took nearly 3 times as long as the fastest human runners. But the event drew massive attention to robots, and it will drive these companies to improve the performance of their robots as quickly as they can, because it's a very public place, very public event. Last month, the Premier, China's second highest official, said in his annual report the legislature that the country's plans this year would include an effort to vigorously develop intelligent robots. The country's top economic planning agency announced a US $137 billion national venture capital fund for robotics, artificial intelligence, and advanced technologies. China's government-controlled banks have increased lending to industrial borrowers over the past 4 years by a staggering $1.9 trillion. And that has paid for the construction of factories as well as the replacement of equipment at existing ones, making them more efficient, more modern, and capable of producing far more products. China's universities produce about 350,000 mechanical engineering graduates every year, as well as electricians, welders, and other trained technicians which are needed in this field. By comparison, American university graduates, around 45,000 mechanical engineers come out each year, which is obviously a far lower number than China's 350,000. Jonathan Hurst, the chief robot officer and co-founder of Agility Robotics, a leading American robot manufacturer, said finding skilled employees has been one of his biggest challenges. As a graduate student in the Robotics Institute of Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Hurst said this: he was only one of 2 mechanical engineers. China's rapid embrace of automation worries many Chinese workers and many Western workers as well. Geng Yonzi, 27, drives a forklift at the Zeekr factory where he has worked for the past 2 years. He said that there were far fewer robots at the Volkswagen factory where he previously worked. And it's one of the reasons why Volkswagen cars are more expensive to manufacture. Surrounded now by robots, he has few co-workers to talk to during his 12-hour shifts. And I'm guessing he fears that he might lose his job soon as well. I can feel the trend towards automation, Gang said as he watched a robot cart pull a rack of car parts past his forklift. He said that his high school education might not be enough for him to qualify for classes in programming robots, and that he worried he's going to lose his job someday, maybe soon, to a robot. It's not just my concern. Everybody worries about it, he said.